Hi, I'm Matt Stevens, Executive Director of the Hawaiʻi Workforce Funders Collaborative, and I'm excited to welcome you to the fifth and final episode of Season 1 of the Workforce Understory. Now, this episode's a little bit different from the first four in that we're stepping back and bringing together what we learned across the full season. The Workforce Understory is our data storytelling and our sensemaking series, and it began with a simple belief that good workforce decisions require both evidence and curiosity. Across the first season, with each episode, we began with a question. We looked for the best evidence we could find. We tried to make it understandable. We paid attention to the new questions that emerged. Over time, those data stories began to connect, and they gave us a clearer picture of Hawaii's workforce challenge, where opportunity may be emerging, what stronger pathways require from us, and where our current information still falls short. And so episode 5 organizes that learning into 4 connected resources. Together, they create what we're calling the Workforce Understory Knowledge Universe. The first is the Workforce Understory Field Guide. This is the best place to start if you want the larger story. It brings together the major lessons from the first 4 episodes of Season 1 and organizes them around 5 questions Hawaii needs to keep asking. The second tool is the Data Visualization Library. And this is where our power users can explore individual charts, findings, methods, and the limitations behind the story at this point. You can search by topic, by audience, by geography, and by episode. The third component is frequently asked questions. Whether you're an employer, a learner, a policymaker, or a county leader, the frequently asked questions let you begin with the question that matters most to you to connect you directly to the relevant evidence. And the fourth and final component is our Workforce Intelligence Roadmap. It asks, what should Hawaii increasingly be able to see, to measure, and to understand over the next 5 years? And why questions we hope to answer later require us to improve our data collection, our governance, and our access today. Now, you don't need to have read all 4 episodes. You definitely don't need to read all 4 resources from beginning to end. I'd recommend you start with the field guide if you want the full narrative. Use the visualization library if you want the evidence. Begin with the FAQs if you have a specific question or want to understand the viewpoint of a specific stakeholder or a specific county within our state. And you'd read the roadmap if you're thinking about measurement, about data sharing, or the infrastructure that Hawaii will need to build over the next decade. So across Season 1, what did we learn? Chapter 1 of the Field Guide asks, what is the problem that we're actually trying to solve in Hawaii? One of the clearest findings from Season 1 is that job growth alone really gives us an incomplete picture of workforce progress. Hawaii is projected to generate approximately 371,000 job openings over a 10-year period. And only about 101,000 of these are expected to pay at or above a living wage. Fewer than 1 in 3 projected openings are likely to provide the economic security that people need to build a life in Hawaii. We also understand that roughly 170,000 young adults are expected to enter the workforce during that same 10-year period. And so the number of projected living wage openings is equivalent to only about 59% of those future workforce entrants. And that data point really leads us to a broader challenge involving job quality, economic development, access, and connection. We need to understand how many quality career opportunities Hawaii is creating, who can access them, and whether these opportunities allow people to advance over time. Chapter 2 asks, how is opportunity experienced across the entirety of Hawaii's workforce? The evidence shows that opportunity is far from uniform. Where someone lives, the industries and employers in their community, the education and experience they bring, their stage of life and their career, they all matter. Education remains important, but a credential does not tell us the whole story. Outcomes vary widely across programs, across campuses, and a 4-year degree, we've learned, does not automatically lead to a living wage degree aligned career in Hawaii. At the same time, a majority of the workforce in Hawaii are skilled through alternative routes, or STARs. These are individuals who have developed valuable skills through community college certificates, apprenticeships, military service, employer training, work experience, and other routes without completing a four-year degree. Many already contribute essential skills throughout Hawaii's economy, and thousands we've identified as being within reach of a single adult living wage. For some, mobility may come through targeted learning, more reliable hours, recognitions of their existing skills, or through advancement into a stronger role. This chapter also reinforces that Hawaii does not operate as one labor market. The mix of employers, occupations, wages, training options, and barriers really does differ substantially by county. A statewide goal can give us a shared direction, while the strategies that move us forward need to reflect local conditions. Chapter 3 of the Field Guide asks, how do communities recognize where economic mobility is already beginning to emerge? Growth is one useful signal, but it cannot carry that decision by itself. A growing industry may be creating many jobs that remain below a living wage. A high-paying industry may offer very few realistic entry points for learners. Another industry may look promising statewide but be too small within a particular county to support a standalone training program. The strongest signals begin to appear when several conditions line up. Roles are accessible through multiple pathways, wages support economic security, employer demand is either stable or growing, and enough opportunity exists to matter locally. And even then, the data is starting to point. Employers, workers, educators, community partners help determine whether the signal reflects a real opportunity and what strategy makes sense within the contexts of a local community. Chapter 4 then goes on to ask, how do communities begin to turn opportunity into lasting economic mobility? Opportunity changes lives when people have a way to enter it, to navigate it, and to keep advancing. One of the most important ideas in this chapter is that people experience pathways, while organizations experience programs. A student may move from a career exploration into a paid internship, then into a credential program, a first job, additionally learning, and eventually a stronger role. For the learner, that's one journey. For the system, it may involve several schools, several employers, workforce organizations, agencies, and funders. Strong programs are the components of a strong workforce system, so they do matter, and their impact grows when the connections among them are clear and intentional. The Field Guide identifies 4 building blocks for stronger mobility pathways. First, you design around people's journeys. Second, you connect the pathway before you expand it. Third, coordinate around outcomes. And fourth, build systems that are set up to continuously learn. And that final point matters because industries, technologies, employer needs, and communities will keep evolving. Hawaii needs the relationships, the information, and the routines that allow strategy to evolve with them. Chapter 5 turns towards the questions we still need to answer. How do people move through workforce pathways? Why do some pathways succeed in a community and others don't? How do we know whether the workforce system itself is improving? And how do communities continue learning together over time? These questions lead directly into the Workforce Intelligence Roadmap. Season 1 showed that Hawaii already has enough evidence to identify important patterns and begin making better decisions. It also showed us where our visibility ends. We can't yet consistently compare outcomes across degrees, apprenticeships, workforce programs, industry credentials, and other pathways. Quarterly earnings do not reveal the quality of work that people enter. We can't reliably follow retention, wage progression, occupational advancement, and mobility over many years. And statewide numbers can't explain the regional and lived context behind every local outcome. And so in our Workforce Intelligence Roadmap, we describe this as a need for more rows of data, richer columns of data, longer timelines, and a deeper context. More rows means representing more people and more pathways in our longitudinal analyses. Richer columns means knowing more about the work people hold, including occupation, hours, pay rate, and worksite location, often called enhanced wage records. Longer timelines means following transitions, retention, advancement, and mobility over time. And a deeper context means interpreting administrative data alongside qualitative data about regional conditions, experience of learners, workers, employers, educators, and communities. Taken together, Season 1 challenged the workforce story that we are collectively telling. We need to pay attention to the quality and accessibility of opportunity. We need to recognize the skills and potential already present in Hawaii's workforce. We need to connect programs and pathways that people can actually navigate. We need statewide infrastructure that supports local strategy. And we need workforce intelligence that will help us learn whether our investments are improving people's experiences and outcomes over time. And all of this connects to Hawaii's generational workforce commitment, a belief and a commitment and a pledge that by 2045, all people of Hawaii will have a path to a career that enables them to learn, to work, and to thrive in Hawaii, contributing to a vibrant local economy grounded in community values. A 20-year commitment requires that we keep learning. We will not have perfect information in the beginning, and we do not need to wait for it. We can use the best evidence available today, remain honest about its limits, listen to the people experiencing our workforce every day, and improve our decisions as new information becomes available. That's the invitation behind episode 5 and behind the Workforce Understory in general. Explore the resources in whatever way is most useful to you. Bring your own questions. Look closely at the evidence. Pay attention to what is missing. Share what you're seeing in your organization, your industry, and your community. The Workforce Understory was never intended to provide the final word on Hawaii's workforce. Its purpose is to help us build a shared understanding that can keep evolving over the next generation. Evidence should not end the conversation. It should help us have a better one. Thank you for exploring Season 1 of the Workforce Understory with us.